Imagine this. A young boy. No money. No connections. No fancy degree. Living in a tiny apartment in the Bronx. Sharing a room with his brothers. Dreaming of something bigger. While other kids played outside, this boy was doing something unusual. He was saving every single penny to buy expensive clothes. Clothes he couldn't afford. Clothes that didn't belong to his world. People laughed at him, called him crazy, called him delusional. But that little boy had a vision so powerful that it would one day be worth $7 billion. That boy's name? Ralph Lauren. And this is the most incredible rags to riches story you will ever hear. Stay with me, because this story will change how you see the world forever. 1939. The Bronx, New York. Frank and Frida Lifshitz, Jewish immigrants from Belarus, struggling to survive in America. They had 4 children, and the youngest one, born on October 14, 1939, was named Ralph Lifshitz. Yes, Ralph Lauren's original name was Ralph Lifshitz. The family was not rich, not even close. They were working class, barely making ends meet. But young Ralph had something special inside him. While other kids in the Bronx were just trying to get by, Ralph was obsessed with style. He would spend hours looking at magazine pictures of wealthy, elegant people. Cary Grant, Fred Astaire, people who wore beautiful suits, who carried themselves with class. And Ralph would think to himself, one day that will be me. But there was a problem. A very big problem. His last name, Lifshitz. Kids at school were brutal. They mocked him, laughed at his name, made his life miserable. And at 16 years old, Ralph made a decision. He legally changed his name from Ralph Lifshitz to Ralph Lauren. And with that new name came a new identity, a new mission, and a new destiny. Ralph wasn't a great student. College wasn't really his thing. He studied business for 2 years, then dropped out. Sound familiar? The greatest people always drop out. He joined the U.S. Army for a bit, then came back to New York and got a job as a sales assistant at a glove company, then moved to a tie salesman job at a company called Rivets. And here, something clicked. Ralph looked at the ties being sold. Boring, narrow, uninspiring, and he thought, I can do better than this. He had an idea. Wide ties, colorful ties, bold ties, ties that made a statement. He went to his boss and pitched the idea. His boss looked at him and said, Ralph, nobody wants wide ties. Stick to what we know. Don't be ridiculous. Ralph was rejected by his own boss, so he did something bold. He went to a manufacturer himself, made his own ties with his own designs, and tried to sell them. He walked into Bloomingdale's, one of New York's most famous department stores, and pitched his ties. The buyer looked at the ties, looked at Ralph, and said, These are interesting, but we'll only sell them if you remove your name and put our store label on them. Ralph said, No. A nobody, a Bronx kid with no money, said no to Bloomingdale's because he believed in his brand. He believed in his name, and that decision would change everything. 1967. Ralph Lauren was 28 years old. He borrowed $50,000 and launched his own tie company under his own label. He called it Polo. Why Polo? Because polo represented elegance, sophistication, old money, everything Ralph had dreamed about since he was that little Bronx boy. And the ties started selling. Bloomingdale's, the same store that wanted to remove his name, came back to him and gave him his own section in the store. For the first time in history, a designer had his own dedicated corner in a major department store. But Ralph didn't stop at ties. He expanded to shirts, then suits, then a full menswear line. And in 1971, he did something revolutionary. He launched women's clothing. But not just any women's clothing. He took classic menswear styles and made them for women. Crisp white shirts, tailored blazers, straight-leg trousers. Women went crazy for it. And then came the moment that changed everything. 1974, a Hollywood director named Jack Clayton was making a movie based on the classic novel, The Great Gatsby, starring Robert Redford, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. They needed someone to design the costumes. The clothing had to be perfect, elegant, timeless. They chose Ralph Lauren. And when that movie came out, the whole world saw those beautiful, classic American clothes. And they wanted them desperately. The Great Gatsby effect was real. Ralph Lauren's sales exploded overnight. Suddenly, everyone knew the name. Ralph Lauren. Polo Ralph Lauren. Celebrities wore his clothes. Rich people wore his clothes. Then, middle-class people wore his clothes. Because Ralph understood something. Genius-level understanding. He wasn't just selling clothes. He was selling a dream. He was selling a lifestyle. He was selling the idea of the American dream itself. Once the momentum started, Ralph Lauren couldn't be stopped. 1972, the iconic polo shirt launched. That little polo player logo on a simple cotton shirt became a global symbol of status. 1986, opened his flagship store on Madison Avenue, New York. Not just a store, a mansion converted into a store, an experience, a world. 1997, took Polo Ralph Lauren public, listed on the New York Stock Exchange. That Bronx kid who shared a room with his brothers was now ringing the bell on Wall Street. The brand kept growing. Ralph Lauren, Polo Ralph Lauren, Purple Label, Black Label, RRL, Polo Sport, Lauren Ralph Lauren. Different lines for different customers, for different lifestyles, from $50 basics to $10,000 suits. Ralph Lauren covered it all. And the numbers became staggering. Net worth, $7 billion plus annual revenue, $6 billion plus stores in 75 plus countries, employees, 25,000 plus. From a Bronx apartment to a global empire. But here's what makes Ralph Lauren truly special. It was never just about the money. Ralph Lauren gave back. He donated $13 million to save the original Star Spangled Banner flag, the actual flag that inspired the national anthem. He funded cancer research centers. Because he lost friends to cancer, he created Polo Ralph Lauren Foundation to help underprivileged youth, kids just like he once was. And his personal taste? He collects rare cars. Not to show off, but because he genuinely loves design. His car collection is worth over $300 million. He has homes in New York, Colorado, Jamaica, Bedford, and a 17,000-acre ranch in Colorado called the Double RL Ranch. But you know what Ralph Lauren says? I don't design clothes. I design dreams. And that quote says everything about this man. So what can we learn from Ralph Lauren's incredible journey? Lesson 1. Your name is your brand. Flex biceps. Ralph could have let Bloomingdale's erase his name. He could have taken the easy money. But he said no, because he knew his name had value. Never let anyone erase your identity. Lesson 2. Sell the dream, not the product. Glowing star. Ralph never just sold shirts and ties. He sold the idea of a better life, an aspirational lifestyle. The greatest businesses sell feelings, not things. Lesson 3. Rejection is redirection. Fire. His boss said white ties were stupid. Bloomingdale's wanted to erase his name. Every rejection pushed him forward. Let rejection fuel you, not stop you. Lesson 4. Start with what you have. Light bulb. Ralph started with $50,000 and a tie. Not millions. Not connections. Not a famous family. You don't need perfect conditions to start. You just need to start. Lesson 5. Stay true to your vision. For 50 plus years, Ralph Lauren never changed who he was, never chased trends, never copied others. He stayed true to his original dream, and the world eventually caught up to him. That was the story of a Jewish immigrant's son from the Bronx who had nothing but a dream, a boy who was mocked for his name, who changed it and made it worth billions, a dropout, a tie salesman who built one of the most recognizable luxury empires in human history. Ralph Lauren, proof that your background does not determine your future. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, because we have more incredible stories coming. Drop a comment below. Which billionaire story do you want next? See you in the next one. Stay hungry, stay inspired. Fire rocket.